You're listening to the Real Estate Radio Hour, the show that brings you unfiltered stories and insight from the Twin Cities real estate world with your hosts, Chris Rooney, broker at RE/MAX Preferred, and Andy Presky, leader of the Preferred Home Team at RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
Good morning.
What up?
There we go. Do you guys got any of this stuff?
Looks like something you get in Brazil.
No, it's like this stuff that you throw on like dashboards and keyboards to try to clean up your screens. It grabs all the little stuff.
Yeah, my wife Lisa uses that stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Mine sticks on my hands though, so I'm just gonna try it while we're here. See if it.
It's more of a make sure to do your keyboard or something so that
I know that's what I'm doing.
the laptop just goes. Doo.
Oh my god, it's working.
Nick, that and paint drying. What else is exciting in the world?
Well, this is what everyone's talking about
All right.
right here.
What are they talking about now?
I'm sorry, I
Oh,
can't
we're
read.
talk about negative stuff. Nice.
See,
I love
Nick
that.
thinks we're young like him and can go flash pictures stored in brain. I'm like, the mortgage rate. It's gone.
I got thrown off the stream. But
Oh,
here we go. Hold on. One
Gotcha.
second. Mortgage rates just hit 8%. Got some stats down here.
Should have bought a home a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, my little contract for deed prediction is going to come through very true very soon. People are going to say, forget it. I got to sell my house. I'm going to give financing to people.
Yep.
Take the chance of it getting called, and we're going to go from there. So is what it is. I know. I think so too. You got to, what happens in all these markets is people adapt. We adapt. They throw something at you. I mean, they throw tax laws at you. People adapt. They get around them. It's crazy.
I was going to actually make the comment that I just had one of the hottest weeks I've had in about 6 months.
Oh, good.
Yeah. People writing new offers on 800, 900 million to houses. And they're financed. They're putting 40% down, 30% down, and 8.5%. They know that interest rates are a tool, right? So what I'm fearful of for a lot of people is that the house is at 350, 400,000. You may never see that again. You might see 600, 800 because there's just not enough being built. There's not enough supply. And the builders are proving that other than apartments, they can't build affordable housing. And the municipalities say they want it, but they're not willing to do anything to make it happen. Even at a state level, they always talk about it and they put all the money. We allocated all the money aside, but it ends up disappearing and doesn't affect anybody positively or very few people. You don't feel it across the board. So the idea there is that I really think you're going to see prices continue to go up, and you're going to wish you bought at when rates were at 8, because if the market does struggle, guess what happens with interest rates? They can adjust that, right? They can pull that down or whatever. Maybe they're at 15% and they go back down to 8%. And you're like, yep, glad I bought at 8 instead of 15. We just don't know. We're in some uncharted territory here. We're into I think a tsunami of economic crazy stuff coming at us that we don't have ever navigated before.
It's a coin flip kind of, in a way.
Right. Well, and
really
I do know this. People do. The one thing you do know is what's right in front of you right now. You know how much you make. You know how much you have in the bank. You know how much equity you have. And newsflash, if you wait 10 years to move to the lake, you might be 90 years old. You might be 80 years old. And now all of a sudden you don't enjoy the lake anymore, and you lived your whole life to never enjoy what you wanted to enjoy. So I always say to people, you better take a look at your current situation, look at what your expenses are, and if you can afford it, you can't afford not to do it.
Right. Now, there is something to say about, especially at these times that are so up and down and tumultuous, that you got to enjoy life too.
Yeah.
And, suffering in what, if you're a move up buyer and you've got 3 kids, but you only got 3 bedrooms and a couple of kids got a share and you don't want that. Yep. You want to get an office, is it worth it to you to kind of get to that next level? The house are going to sell. We still have low inventory. But I've been seeing, you said in the last week, I've been seeing people, I mean, we're getting second, third showings on houses and people still not making a decision. It's very interesting.
This is where I just talked to a group of agents about this. We had 15 of us together doing kind of a think tank and, talking about strategies. And I said, this is the market where, a lot of my agents, I know they know the customer, they know enough about them to be dangerous, but not enough. You got to go a little deeper. You got to go a little layer deeper with these people. Once they're giving you their time like that, figure out what is the true motivation for their move and help them remember that as they're going along so that keeps them moving forward. Because I think the biggest thing is that, real estate agents that think their salespeople are kidding themselves. You have virtually no influence on that decision other than if you are clever and you remind them of the reasons why they're moving. If you never spend the time to understand why they're moving, you're not going to be a very successful real estate agent in the future. And I think that resources are another thing that really help people. Doing mortgage calculators, showing people how by buying today and at this price, they can save money versus buying at this price with a lower interest rate. And it sometimes makes more sense to buy with the higher interest rate with the lower price. But
the thought price or the thought of most people is just 8%. That's all they're thinking. Well, what does 8% really mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, a really quick, fast way in which to figure this out is the interest part of it, because obviously if there's principal, that's going to pay it down. So it doesn't really matter what that is because you're still getting that back. But if you do something like, and just figure it out on $100,000, and if it's 6% for a year, that's $6,000 in interest. If it's 8%, that's $8,000 a year in interest. So that's a $2,000 difference. So that's less than, $200 a month that your payment's going up from 6 to 8% on 100,000.
Correct.
Now obviously if we boost that up to, 500,000, we're at 30,000 and 40,000. So now we're 10,000 apart.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people understand that because, same thing goes into the principal. You have the taxes, you have the insurance, you have all that other stuff that goes into it. When the rate jumps up, like you just said, from 6 to 8, for an example, and the interest rate costs you another $200 a month, but that $3,200 a month that it was 6 months ago now is $3,400. It's not like it went to 6,000 because a lot of those, repeat offenders that are in there don't double. It's just the interest rate that doubled, which is a portion of the total payment obligation you pay per month. It's a good point.
And you said I just came up with something brilliant.
Okay.
You said that people.
Wait, hold on. Let me get my.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm ready.
Nick, hit record. I think that might be why we do this podcast.
Oh.
To help people.
I don't even have to write that down.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Educating people so they can make an informed decision and not a decision based on emotion. If we can get past that, I mean, although emotions is a very powerful thing in sales.
Well, and I know you and your spiritualist or whatever used to use a Ouija board to help people make decisions. And I don't know if that was as effective as you, or was it?
We predicted all this stuff. I knew this stuff a year ago, for sure.
Yeah, you should buy lottery tickets this week.
No, but if you look at people's marketing, it's all going to the emotions and trying to get the emotions. But if we could take that out and kind of really talk about really what it means. I've got someone that's looking at one of our houses that their kids and they absolutely love this house. Absolutely, absolutely love it. They can afford it, yeah. And it's probably $200,000 more than they want to go. But it's got everything they ever could ask for that they didn't want to or need to add to a house. Because the ones that they're looking at, they need to add this other stuff. And, the kids are at an age that a real good age to be able to be in this property. And so it's just trying to get them past, the $200,000 because it's only worth what someone's willing to pay for it, what someone's willing to sell it for. And, it's not just every seller out there is like ready to make a deal. Now there are some. There's some that are like, you know what, I got to get out of this and it's doomsday coming and I want to dump it. But there's other ones that are like, well, hey, Chris, there's nothing out there that really competes against ours. And I said, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said, so now the market is kind of let's wait and see. We got to hold and we got to watch it. But we have to be able to react to it too and see what's going on. But that's what you got to do. You got to make a decision how you want to be able to play this market from a seller or a buyer standpoint. And the other thing is that usually a lot of houses that you want to get deals on, there's usually something wrong with them that you have to be able to fix. And you got to keep that in mind. Now, okay, hey, I got a great deal on, but I really don't like this and this and that. And I have to redo the kitchen. And I really want the master, to have a sitting room, but it doesn't do it. So I'll have to make this other bedroom into a sitting room, but then we'll only have 3 bedrooms upstairs. And all of those things kind of come into play. So sometimes it's better just to grab it. It's like new construction. Some people just are not good. They're not handy. All right. Hey, move into new construction. It's done. I mean, it's done. You don't have to worry about nothing for probably 10 years before you have to start kind of doing something. You can just enjoy life instead.
Yeah. So. Well, we were just, I was talking with an accountant yesterday. We were talking about do you buy that new vehicle? Do you not? Do you, and he said the people that are living in which are most of the people that have to finance things right now, things got very expensive. Inflation is killing the payment lifestyle. And so what's happening is the people that live in house payments, car payments, whatever, which is most of us, it just got really expensive to live. And so there's going to be put a premium back onto having the cash lifestyle of I paid for things are paid off. I don't have debts. I don't have overhead, because then, talk about being completely free, where you actually have where if you can afford, and people, but we can't do that. We're only in our 30s and whatever. I know people in their 30s have houses paid off because they've diligently worked. And the one thing was, I got a guy that was 38 years old I just met, and we're going to be selling the house because they want to build a new house out in the country. His wife is stays at home with their children, and he works at what I would consider to be a normal job, but has dedicated consistently and persistently to getting that payment and that house paid down. And some people think he's crazy. Well, now as inflation whacked us, houses went way up in value. These guys are sitting so golden right now. They're going to take that money that they now to them is like free money and running out, and they're investing into their dream home, which is going to be building out in the country and having a few acres and having, the yard full of animals and all that stuff that people out there do. I'm not big. I don't like animals that are bigger than me. How about you? Which is hard to find.
There's not many animals bigger than us anyway. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, you got the bulls and you got the
elephants, maybe bears.
State fair boar is bigger than us, I think.
I'll tell you, like I told you before, I think he switched on us.
I think this goes into what you're about to say too. It's about the mortgage man.
Talk about Naked and Afraid episode with elephants, and so yeah.
Oh,
we'll just go on this one.
With the contract for deeds and whatnot, with these mortgage demands falling super low.
Totally. I mean, it's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, because from a seller standpoint, I can show you, I can sit down with you and show you that if you're sitting at a 3.5% interest rate, where we can probably give someone a 6% contract for deed, how much money you're going to make and what the payback is by giving them a lower price even, or gaining more. So it's.
Well, but Chris, most of the people I know too that have 2.75% interest rates are the same people that pay double house payments. And they're trying to get that thing paid off as fast as they can for a little amount of money as they can, because they despise paying anybody else interest. And so, that's an interesting strategy right now too, is that, hey, those of you are in the lottery position, you have a rate under 3 or 4%, whatever you want to consider that to be. You should be making double payments right now. Mm-hmm. You should be paying the same as a guy or gal that's out there buying at 8.5 or 8.25 right now. And my God, you'll have your house paid off in no time. Then you have no payments. And then we would probably complain about what? I don't know. You pick the topic.
Well, yeah. And I think the thing is too, is that, there typically on most mortgages, there's a due on sale clause. Now you can check with your mortgage company. They can say no, but the odds are that if you keep your payments intact, you're not going to have an issue. But maybe if rates go up and they're not being able to sell any loans, they're going to look into it and say, oh my gosh, these people have a loan and they sold on a contract for deed. They basically, you got to pay us back. Well, when stuff like that happens, it's typically a 6-month type thing. So you'd have to either get them to be able to qualify at that point, and or you could do the underlying mortgage. Now, I have a bank that I work with that I can purchase a house and sell it to anyone I want, as long as I just keep making those payments. and paying those payments. So not a bad
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, no, every bank does business differently. That's why there's so many of them.
Yep. So, yes, sir. Let's do it.
Next,
also, and buying down rates for people too is another thing. But I think that's so gimmicky in my mind.
Well, no, I mean exact example of that I just gave to a client the other day. I said, if you don't think you're paying $30,000 more for that house to get that 4 point whatever or 5 point whatever % interest rate, you're totally kidding yourself. If you walked in there, and granted, now it again, that's the living the payment lifestyle that lots of people live in, and so they never envision paying off a house. They're like, well, here's what it costs to live here. It's almost like paying rent. It's just a different version of rent for them, and that is a interesting way to look at it. But I'll tell you, that rate, like if you do get it bought down, you still should be paying in my opinion, paying extra towards principal reduction if you can afford it, right? And then on the months where all of a sudden you get a little tight because maybe you're not getting the overtime or whatever, maybe those months you just pay the minimum payment. But I'm a big believer in that. Get those things paid off as fast as you can.
Yeah.
We're gonna go in.
You're a money hoarder, Andy.
Yeah, sure.
Nick?
Ready? I collect it.
Yeah, so Andy, you're talking about that guy building their dream home in the country. So we're going into that little Minnesota lake segment. Before that, though, I have a reel that's going to showcase the beauty of Minnesota. So this whole segment obviously is brought to you by Andy Prasky, Preferred Home Team.
Well, they said I could have 30 seconds on the show for a quick ad. Andy Prasky, Remax Advantage Plus, Andy@Prasky.com if you want to email us. Here's the thing, 22 years in the business, over 1,400 sales. I'd like to help you with your real estate needs. If that's buying, if that's selling, if that's building, whatever it is, give us a call, send us an email. Let's get you started on your real estate journey. I'd like to help you on the way. Lots of experience here, and I would like to put it to work for you. Andy Prasky, Remax Advantage Plus. Thanks for listening to the show.
So this first one isn't the lake we're going to discuss, but I thought it was a cool reel that does good for Minnesota. So.
That is seriously that kind of stuff is cool. I just wish, I know everyone's attention span is 4 seconds, but that one would have been really cool to kind of just extend a little.
It was 8 seconds.
Yeah. But I mean, our attention, so they went 4 seconds longer. It's like we can't. It's crazy.
Well, maybe they do that so you watch it 5 times, and then all of a sudden they get the views, and then they get the likes.
Exactly why they do it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was
explaining. That's like Nick to trick guys like us.
Lake Minnewaska. I know something about that one. That's what you're talking about, Andy.
You just was at a wedding on Lake Minnewaska.
You were?
Yeah, in Glenwood there, right on the we were at the beach club, right? If you look at the city of Glenwood, kind of to the south end of town there, they have a beach club with a big banquet facility. There you go, right there. Right.
They got a number of stuff on the lake there.
Go a little farther south. Maybe not that far. Go up a little bit, right in there somewhere. They don't have it very well marked, do they? I was kidding. Sorry.
Beach Resort, right there. That one in red, right there to your right.
Like Glacial Ridge Health Systems, I think, is
there's
to
Peter
the north of
Sunset.
that. It's right there by that little park area. But regardless, so you want me to talk about Lake Minnewaska?
Yeah.
Lake Minnewaska is a fantastic, beautiful body of water. You've got nestled in 2 cities. Obviously, you can see you got Glenwood, and then your Starbuck is a smaller town. They have a few, dealerships there, and we drive through Starbuck when we're going out to my cousin's house out in the Hancock area out there. But small town. I was just to get a kick when I was a kid. You drive through Starbuck, and they literally have a buck in town with a star on its head, and it's like, oh, that's original. That was always nice. A lot of farmland around there. So you have a lot of people coming to the lake. What's nice about areas like Minnewaska is that not only do they have the big, beautiful mansions on the lake, I actually have a cousin that has a beautiful home there. And then there's condos now, even being built with marinas and, a few of those things. So if you go to the other side of the lake to the Glenwood, where the exciting side is, that's where you see all the action right in that area there. Lakeside right there. Click Lakeside. That's the one I was talking about, Nick. Yep. That's it. So that's where we went and had, that was my cousin's son got married there, and they pulled up in the boat, and big wedding reception. They were all out on the boat, doing their fist pumping and the music's pumping, and that's how they had the wedding party come to the reception hall. Kind of cool. But anyway, yeah, no, lots of great places to stay, great places to eat, great fishing. And you're I'd say about half hour south of Alexandria. So as you're heading north, you can also swing through the Kingsington park, where they found the Kingsington stone, that they say is part of the Holy Grail, the big, the Vikings dropped it there as a marker to show where they have the Ark of the Covenant or whatever. And it's crazy. I mean, it's as you kind of go past that, yeah, like Florida there, up in that area. So kind of cool, man. So there's a lot of neat stuff up there, lots of farmland, lots of good hunting land. I like Minnewaska.
I have a story of Florida. I was there at a bar with a couple guys, and they have the machine pull tabs. And so I went over there and I put in $20 and I won 800. And so then it was just on the house the whole time. And people said they would vote for me for mayor because I bought pizzas for everyone. Everyone drank and everything. And at the end, I still think I had $600 left over.
I know.
So
that is one thing that is not necessarily around Glenwood, but you get out into some of those smaller towns between there and Alex and that, and you can go out there and buy dinner for the family, drinks, the whole thing, and it's $38. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's interesting. Lake Minnewaska brings up. It was actually our last family vacation when my dad was alive, what's really sad is that it was, probably 8 or 10 years before he even died. That's kind of. Don't you guys do it every year? You guys get together every year. Your families.
Yeah, we try to. We're this year here's how you get older. One of my cousins from Connecticut, my mom had 10 kids in their family. One of the brothers moved out to Connecticut. His son, massive heart attack, gets over that, all of a sudden has ALS now. And everybody's like, oh my gosh. So the whole family, except myself, it's like flew out there to do this walk. And it's like, so now everybody's like, hey, we're not invincible. Let's, make an effort, actually, everyone, to get together and see each other and, and support each other. And so that I think is unfortunately what happens with age. As we get older, you mature and you start actually giving a crap about what your uncle's doing or what your great aunt is doing or how, and because they're going to go away. And if you don't think so, hang in there a minute and all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah, so they got some nice Airbnbs and stuff up there. We rented a house up there.
Oh, God, yeah.
Never forget, I got a phone call. I was on the phone for probably 3 hours with a client of another agent that had an offer on our house that basically the other agent just totally got in the way. And so the buyer said, okay, here's the story. You just stay out of it. I'm dealing with it. You'll get paid, whatever, but I'm just dealing directly with him. And what was interesting about it, it was how the information from realtor to realtor was portrayed to the buyer. And, from a seller to an agent to another agent to a buyer, and how that changed the whole way. It's like, what? The sellers never said that. I never said that, And this lady just kind of made it up because she didn't know what she was doing. And so I ended up being this guy's realtor. We paid that agent just to stay out of the way to be able to get the deal done.
That's my number one piece of advice I give to most agents when I'm helping them is I'm like, get out of your own way.
Yeah.
Your principles, your values, your whatever are important for you, but understand that you're representing their principles, values, and motivations.
Theirs, not yours.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so a lot of times agents are like, well, we're not going to stand for that. That's a bunch of blankety bleep. And all of a sudden the customer loses the deal. They don't understand why. And I'm telling you, it keeps going back to where you and I talked about at the beginning of the show, you go deeper with these clients, spend a little more time with them, understand the true motivation behind their moves, and then you can serve them better as a client, you know?
It's kind of like something like I would say, maybe you'd say something to me. I say, Andy, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. I mean, that's just stupid. There's no way that's going to happen. I think you're way off. And that's just me talking. All of a sudden now Andy takes that and tells the seller that, hey, you're the dumbest person ever because, you know, you think that you can keep your kitchen cabinets when you can't. What? Oh my God, I'm not dumb. Well, Andy never should have said that. He should have realized that, hey, this agent's just kind of full of it and just keep it between them. But I'll tell you what.
How about a home build, Chris?
Hold on. Yeah. I craft many of emails, follow-up emails based on what we discussed, because when I get those type of agents, I want them to take that and forward it to the other person. And so it gives them the real true depiction of what you just said versus letting them interpret what you said and bring it back to them and then let that buyer's interpretation take over.
Well, and to add to your story is that, you know, I look at like new construction. I always bring new construction to this. A lot of home builders do not speak buyer. They speak home builder. And for example, hey, is there any way that the builder could add a couple more outlets in the basement because we want to put a treadmill and whatever? Ask the builder. Builder says, are you effing kidding me? That'll cost me $800, a trip charge. You tell them to go to hell. The whole deal's done. And I go back to the buyer and say, well, here's the thing, guys. The builder said that the electrician will come back, but it's probably going to cost us a trip charge. If you guys are willing to cover the trip charge, we could probably ask them to do it for a fair price and maybe even pass it through at our cost. Is that fair? Also go back to the builder and say, hey, they'll pay your cost on it. Well, that's about time they got right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you just, but if they would hear that right from the builder's mouth, the whole deal would blow up and they wouldn't sell the house. And so translation is a very, very important part of our job. And I think that there are times where some clients are, again, when you truly understand their motivations, their whatever, you can represent them more. Well, I shouldn't say more betterest than they could. But you can. You know what I'm saying? It's like you actually sit there and can have that client well represented, well spoken, and even if they're not, you know, it's like you can. I don't know.
Yeah. I've sold a few houses in my day. I've represented people. I think I do a good job, but I don't represent myself.
No.
When I'm doing that, I take myself out of it because you're emotional and you have to realize that it's a very, very touchy and doing that. And it's touchy the whole way through. And so you don't think that once the negotiations are over, that it's over. It's not. I mean, we had a buyer that walked out on us. They took off to another country on the day of closing. So we're not closing. We're just not doing it. And it's like, oh my God. I mean, so don't be fooled to think that, all right, we got over those negotiations. Now I'm going to really nail them on the walkthrough. Yeah. No, they don't forget those things. And so it's massaging it all the way through. And I think that people who say they don't need realtors, I mean, I think you're crazy. Because,
hey, you know, so that I love to talk about inspections because they drive me bananas. Yeah. And like let's make the offer and then we do the inspection and like, oh, well, we wanted to get a credit for this, and that. and I tell you, anybody that's negotiated with me, with one of my clients, I always say, hey, let's be clear before you even go out and do your home inspection. You guys visually walked through that house. You tripped over the sidewalk, so don't ask us to fix the sidewalk. You saw the soffit. You walked around the house. We're looking for things that were undiscovered on the initial 2 showings that you did. We're looking for things that you're learning new, and we're only going to take into account major items. And I always like to say, hey, why don't we do it this way? Why don't you do your home inspection? If it's under $5,000, you guys take care of it. If it's over $5,000, let's negotiate. And otherwise, a home inspection isn't a negotiating tool. It's to basically see, are you sure you're getting into what you're getting into? Because if you walk into that front door and you're like, hey, this is a 1980s built Rambler, pretty much you're going to find exactly what you think you're going to find. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so people that go into that and say, well, boy, we were shocked that none of the outlets were up to date. Of course they're not. They're 1980s installed outlets. You know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff that drives me a little bit crazy. And I think that there's room for improvement on all parties' parts when it comes to inspections. And I think the worst thing they ever did to us, Chris, was take away You have 5 days to do the inspection. We have 1 day to respond. We have 1 day to respond to you. You have 1 day to respond to us. Because agents aren't smart enough to figure out that we need to do all that in the 10 days, not take the full 10 days and wait till day 10 to do your first inspection.
And then extend the inspection.
Yeah. And then we're losing market time as a seller. That's why I started telling people, I'll say, we'll give you 3 days to get an inspection done. Everybody's like, you're such a jerk. I go, I get it, but then show me that you're going to get that inspection done and we can get this done within a week. We want to be done in a week. We don't want to be just starting in 10 days. I mean, good Lord.
I think that the whole 511, 322 purchase agreement that it used to be on the inspection was so much better, but I just think a lot of people had a hard time understanding that. And for those who don't remember it, what would happen is that you would have to state in writing what you wanted. And then the seller could say, done. No, we're forget it. Nowadays, you basically have whatever, the full time. So let's just say
it has 10 days to conduct the inspection. It should say, you have 10 days to remove this contingency. Go.
Yeah, but the other thing the buyers have now, the buyers can ask for anything they want right now.
Oh, sure.
There's nothing holding them to it. They can say, you know what, Andy, hey, you got a great house. I know it's older, but I want the whole electrical redone and a new roof and some nice gutters because I think you got water damage. And then you're like, what? Oh, we're done. Get out of here. We're done. Oh, no, we're just kidding. All we want is one light switch fixed. Oh, nope, we're not going to do it. Okay, well, we won't do it. We're still going to buy it. That's what happens. And that's what causes this angst against each other. And then it's kind of like the people who did the inspection are like, well, God, we didn't get nothing out of it. We paid them full price. And then the seller's like, well, these little jerks tried to screw me over because they wanted to take everything. Well, that doesn't stop right at that moment. It continues on. And then it becomes to the walkthrough. And now all of a sudden a piece of furniture got moved and there's a little popsicle stain under that carpet. Now they want the whole freaking carpet taken care of, or we're not closing. Well, we've moved out. We've moved to another state. What do you do? You know, well, they've got an interest rate that they're locked into. They're getting out of their house. What do? And so now we're at this impasse. And then the worst part of it is if you go after closing, you're still like this. Yep. And now the buyer's got free reign to come back after you for other stuff. And there's nothing worse. So you gotta maintain that stuff. I always tell people, I say, I'm going to give you the information to be able to make your own decision on how we want to be able to market this. And then I'm going to try to keep you out of trouble and keep them away from you after the closing. And how do you do that? This is everything we're talking about. That's how you do that. You have to, it doesn't start at closing to keep them away, or when they come and say, oh, this is what we want. There's maybe been a couple years built up anxiety over, that they didn't fix that one outlet switch in, Billy Bob's bedroom. And then every time you see that and Billy Bob gets it and his lights don't go on and he screams downstairs and Dad, get up here and do it. And you're ticked at the seller. All of a sudden that water heater goes out. And it's like, those idiots must have known it. They had it. We're coming after them.
Yeah.
It's those kind of things that people don't realize. That's what we're doing all the time, trying to stop all of that stuff. I can't tell you how many times I've had stuff come to me that the seller's never heard of it because I've kind of gotten past it without them even having to hear it. So,
yeah. No, I think that, the other thing to consider, like good tips for this time of the year. I mean, with you and I, not to keep going on this inspection road, but, like people will say, well, we want the air conditioning inspected. And all of a sudden, when it's 20-degree difference in temperature, they can't do it. So what I always recommend this time of year, people have their furnace run through by a technician that gives them the, the 20-point check, certified furnace inspection and AC inspection before it gets too cold. And then you can have that ready for that inspection. It saves a ton of mystery because especially if you have an older unit that's rusty or looks like it's on its last legs and, the HVAC person comes out there and says, hey, this thing is going to run another 5-10 years. No problem. I mean, it's great shape. It's ugly, but it's great shape. You should, keep using it to get your money's worth out of it. And people think, well, it's like, whatever. We got to get rid of it. And it's not true.
Yeah. So, that's a great point. Because the other part is that it takes the liability away from the seller. So if they're selling in January and it closes in March, you're not going to know if that works. But hey, we had a technician say that it did work when it closed it down. I don't know what happened over the whole time. And from time you bought it from March until you turned it on in May, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm telling you, that's called CYA. And that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's just one of many. I mean, like you and I have talked about this before too, with like you always talk about like photos and stuff like that kind of in the fall, taking, your green and blue photos now so people can really appreciate what the lake looks like in the peak of usability. And, what does it look like on that 4th of July weekend? It doesn't hurt because a lot of people that's our thing. We want the big 4th of July party or whatever. And, Labor Day, Memorial, whatever. So
well, let's just say you have really nice landscaping. You can see under the snow too, what's really under there. So
what about
and that's
like
the other thing
screening?
with Minnesota and our winter going into spring, it can last a long time. It can be gross, it can be ugly, it can't be cleaned up, you can't take care of anything. And so being able to have those other photos it lets you go onto the market when you want to or when you feel the market's good.
I remember when we used to help a bunch of these big banks, and we were, taking over vacant properties a lot of times, and there's the due diligence periods and whatever else. So we'd have to sometimes just monitor these properties for 6, 8, 9 months sometimes. And I remember some of these yards, we don't even touch any because it's personal property. There's lawnmowers and snow blowers and kids' pools and, all the plastic toys that you could ever think of against the fence and like in the backyard. And then it snows. And all of a sudden that ugly backyard with a bunch of debris looks really pretty. And then the bank's like, yep, let's get it on the market. Let's list it. And not intentionally to bury the stuff. But like I always used to tell people, I go, hey, you're going to have a lot of surprises in the spring. There's a lot of treats in the yard. And, people are like, what?
Yeah.
Times a year, I tell you, the other thing is like screening. So sometimes, like that, remember that a couple weeks ago, we looked at that really expensive home that had the busy backyard. And this time of the year, it's a great time to sell it because all the trees have leaves, which is like a wall. And then you can't see anything versus going into the fall. Now the leaves all drop. Now you try to market that property and you're like, well, now it really emphasizes being on the road, right? So timing is a very important thing. And that's why I would say consult with the real estate agent early because they may say, hey, this would be a great listing for the fall or the spring, summer.
Beautiful. A ton of good advice. Let's give the same advice to agents trying to get some leads with open houses. I know a lot of agents are struggling to make some deals, so now open houses are hot again. What is your advice to capture that contact information and to get some buyers?
Well, I'll tell you what, Nick, I would be out of real estate if I hadn't done open houses.
Yep.
Open houses is how I ended up. Not only, I think what was important to me is that I represented that house. Whatever it was that house. Even if it wasn't my listing, I was trying to sell that house. But the other part is that I had knowledge of everything else that was available. For instance, let's just say it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath split entry with a 2-car garage, and it was $300,000. What I would want to know is that obviously are some things that people want that would come look at this might want other than this. They might want a 3-car garage. They might want, maybe this one just had 2 bedrooms up. Maybe you want 3 bedrooms up and then a 4th one downstairs or a possibility of a 4th one. So I would know that. And then the other biggest thing is that what I found is that if we were able to connect, and if we were able to connect, I mean, hey, do you want to work with me? I would ask, but if people weren't, I didn't think they would connect. Sometimes they would come back to me after the fact, but I made sure that they had all my information, that they knew I knew what I was talking about. So if I'm not selling that house that I'm in, or trying to sell that car, for Andy's analogy, if I'm not trying to be able to sell that car, and they go to somewhere else in which to be able to purchase that, or they say, gosh, you know what, that car is really nice, but maybe I want a different kind of brand or a different type of, maybe it's a truck, maybe it's a van, maybe it's a station wagon. And it's the same thing with houses. So I just think I think you got to go in there with the right mentality, that you know what you're doing, you know what you're saying. It's not just, hey, I show up and hope the hell someone shows up and I'm not prepared for them. You got to know everything about that house because they want someone that's smart, that's educated, that's going to help them on the next house, not just a salesman.
Okay. How much time do I have?
As long as you want.
Well, if we only have an hour, I better get started. No, just teasing you guys.
21 minutes.
21. Okay. So here's the thing. when you have an open house, you basically are promoting a couple of things. You're promoting the property that's out there. You're promoting how you market properties and represent your clients. You're also out there to meet people and have, maybe new people that are to the market that don't have a connection in the industry to meet with you and want to work with you. So there's a multitude of things there. The one thing that I would tell you that a lot of people miss on is, the internet advertising opportunity that's out there, the predictable analytics, all the tools that are out there that you can identify, like Remind in a neighborhood. There's a web or app that we can use that actually will identify the people that are most likely to move. Making sure to go to those houses and drop off a flyer saying, hey guys, I'm doing an open house down the street this weekend on Saturday in the morning. And I always break it apart. In the morning, I'm doing a neighborhood only open. And I'm inviting you to, bring friends or family from work, come on out to the property, and pick your next neighbor. Great tool, right? And you may want to see, this house. It may affect the value of your house, and let's, be able to point out those differences. What I'm doing is I'm fishing for another listing, right? But I'm spending the time ahead of time, being proactive to introduce myself to the neighborhood. Or if you don't have the time to do it, one of the best things I ever did was my son helped me on a couple properties where he would wear his college jersey, and I would literally pay him. I'd say, hey, I'll give you $25 for every person from the neighborhood that shows up with your flyer. And he goes, no way. And like stealing, candy from a baby. And so he's out there knocking on the doors, and the one neighbor comes over and she says, she goes, I just can't believe how nice this young man was. He came to the door, he knocked on the door and says, hey, my name is Connor. My dad's a real estate agent down the street. And what we're doing is we're trying to invite you to help you pick your next neighbor. But more importantly, if you like the University of Minnesota and you want to sponsor me, by you guys showing up at the open house, I actually get a donation made towards my tuition, which I'm volunteering the job now, but they pay me to go to college by getting people to show up. So if you guys could show up, support the Gophers, that'd be great. And me, I'd appreciate it. I'm studying to be a nurse or whatever, right? So that was another way. Beyond that, now you have, assuming that you do everything right online and all the different, social media, whatever. I think a lot of people oversee signage and they don't think about it. And I have agents that'll go out and do an open house with 2 signs. And I'm like, I never go with under 20. So I'll literally go out there and I do double on the corners. I tie pennant flags from one to the other so they're whipping in the wind. You're going to catch more fish with more lures in the water. Why would you go to an open house? And why would you spend all that time, energy, and effort to not get as many possible eyeballs on that house as you could? Now, not only are you going to grab attention, you're going to say, wow, that guy does a lot for his open houses. Well, people are going to start coming in. The more people that come in, the more odds you are to help people with. Anyway, now the odds of somebody coming to an open house that hasn't researched it are very slim. Most people do researching online, or when they're pulling up, they Google it, making sure that address, when you Google that address as a listing agent, that house pops up. And more importantly, even that open house, like a landing page for the open house that says, go ahead and here's a sheet, click here to print your flyer of the open house. Of course, it's a forced registration so that you have somebody's name that you can now tell them of any updates on price or open houses or whatever. You can invite them again. Retargeting is what is what I love. And then they show up at the open house. So now you get these people at these open houses. The last thing I'd leave you with is this. Have your A game on. When you're giving a first impression in today's market, you better, God better have all the non-Googleable items that house represents. What is there that they can't Google? Now you stick out as a real estate agent. Now you're actually going to really stick out to these people as, hey, there's a wealth of knowledge here. I jokingly will say things to people like, you know what? Not only all that, and the school district's great, and their football coach just did this, and I think they got a shot at state next year. But I go, the best place to have a pizza is right down on the corner at Tony's. Go in there and get the pepperoni sausage, thin crust. Don't mess around. Get the extra large because you're going to eat the whole darn thing, and go have lunch and talk about this open house. And you know what's funny? Chris, I've had people say, we went to Tony's and we actually had the pepperoni sausage pizza. It was great. And we want to do a deal together.
I think it's important. A lot of these things that you're saying too, I think with your personality, it works out perfect. I think with some other people, it might not. And so I think that's another thing that you have to be able to kind of keep in mind, is that you got to do what you do and who you are. Because if you don't, you won't do it. I mean, everyone on this podcast can totally see Andy talk about that pizza place and getting that pepperoni and sausage pizza. You can see it. It's who he is. And he's going to attract those kind of people that like that. But if it's like me, yeah, I might say that if they ask me, but I might be a little more, not as outgoing. I'm actually very outgoing, but compared to Andy, it's like I'm falling asleep.
You catch different fish with different lures. What kind of fish do you want to catch? And that's what you throw out there. So like,
and who do you want to attract? Right,
exactly. So when I show up at an open house wearing a suit and tie, I fail. Right. I'm being honest with you. Right. If I show up in flip-flops with a Remax like golf shirt on and I'm like, "What's up, dude?" and they come in the house and we are immediately connected, I kill open houses. And it's because I'm real. I'm not a fake poser. I am Andy that wears the flip-flops and the shorts and the golf shirts or button down or whatever. And here's what's funny. Most people are like, finally we met somebody that's real. I hear that a ton. And everybody's like, well, dress for the part. You want to be their agent. That's true too. For some personalities, you need to dress for the part because you might in reality not be a big, I don't know. To sell yourself, you might need that. It's not my thing.
That's why I say everyone's different. That's what you have to do. But you can take like pieces and parts of these ideas, and be able to kind of create who you are. But I think a big thing is, and I think Andy and I both covered it, is you got to know what you're talking about. Yeah. You got to know that house. You got to know that house, and you got to know that neighborhood. Because people are going to say, "Well, geez, it's really nice, but what are the other houses worth?" Oh, let me get back to you. No, you lose.
Well, how about this, Chris? How many square feet are above ground on this house?
Yeah.
Ooh, let's grab the brochure and let's look. Immediately, I'm like, all right, let me talk to the listing agent. Yeah. I'm like, why are you not sitting there for 5 minutes before that open house and studying that open house sheet? You should know like that.
Pretty quick, yeah.
We should charge for this. This is gold.
Hey, I was just joking on 31 minutes, but you were kind of really taking it serious.
Oh, no, I'm not even done. I've got more. The thing is that, like, Nick, when you get into a topic like this is my arena.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey,
it's kind of like
government will pay you 20.
Andy's open houses are like a carnival. You just got to go.
For sure.
They are. It was just good.
The government will pay you $25,000 to buy a home. It's called the Down Payment Towards Home Equity Act. It was created to provide down payment assistance to first-generation home buyers and address the access to home ownership. Here's how it works. Number 1, you apply to the program if you're a first-time home buyer. Number 2, the government grants up to $25,000 towards your down payment. And number 3, this money transforms into equity in your home. And the best part is that you don't have to pay it back. Like and follow from our tips.
I'd like to see that the real program, because it's not like you can buy it one day and sell it the next. I'm sure that you have to be there a certain amount of time not to pay it back. But anyways,
in certain neighborhoods will be identified within there. There'll be certain. There's always, I would say, there's a pigeonhole you got to wedge yourself into. You might have income constraints. You're going to have, so there's always something that's. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but the thing is this: rely on yourself. Don't rely on the government. They're not going to make you a homeowner and let you. I mean, they may help if you fit that pigeonhole. Good for you. God bless America. But there's so many people that think they fit in it and they don't. And it's perception, right? Remember, whoever paid for that act or put that bill in place is trying to get votes. And so we're going to help everybody be a homeowner. And also all those people that are thinking they fit in that pigeonhole want to vote for that person.
It's great to be able to speak to a lender and try to find out what you qualify for and what you can do. And so it might be, hey, I might have to move to Champlin to be able to get that $25,000. I heard they're giving like $100,000 to buy in that town.
You don't want to downgrade that low, Chris.
Well, I know. That's why I said they're giving $100,000 to be able to do that. So that's what you find out.
Yeah.
For a lender. So
that's funny.
There's a premium to get into Prior Lake. It's really weird. If you come from like outside, it's like $10,000 extra because we put that in a pot just to kind of teach you how good it is around here.
A screening capitalization fund that's non-refundable.
There you go.
They're nice. They keep out the Andy Praskis.
Totally. And by the way, we can't have more than one. We're not supposed to have more than one sign out at a time. Ours, Prior Lake, has got really nasty on that stuff on open house.
Well, good for them.
Yeah.
Hey, this one is obviously not Minnesota, but I'm curious if a situation has happened to you guys with this, and for potential buyers to look out for these issues.
First glance, this oceanfront Cape Cod home looks like a steal at $450,000. Prices on Cape Cod have gone up like crazy, so what's wrong with this one? Well, it turns out quite a bit. Due to climate change and sea level rises, scientists predict that Cape Cod will be completely underwater in about 5,000 years. And 5,000 years is plenty of time to enjoy this house, right? Not quite. This particular bluff is eroding at a rate of 3 feet per year. And if we're feeling generous, this deck is only 25 feet away from that bluff, which means the next buyer of this home could see their property completely eroded and washed away in less than 10 years. Incredibly, the last owner who bought it in 2019 was bold enough to list this for $1.2 million just a year ago. And that might have something to do with the fact that they recently put in a brand new kitchen. I'm not sure that makes a whole lot of sense. At least they left the vintage pink tile in the bathroom. It looks like they've gotten close to a sale more than once, and the price keeps dropping. The other piece of this is that you don't even have beach access. See this barrier over here? It's to stop people from driving down a road that doesn't exist anymore. Let's take a look at that again. Road, no road. Road, no road. I would feel a lot worse for these homeowners if they bought this 50 years ago and had no idea that they'd lose their entire nest egg. But it looks like whoever made this last investment is not going to see it pay off. What do you think? Would you buy this place?
I'll tell you what, if you looked at that video, there's another house that was next to it that sat way back. I mean, move that thing back, pick it up, move it back about 40 feet, and you just saved yourself another 10 years. 20 years.
Yeah, but 3 feet a year is a lot. I mean, that is, so in 100 years, the whole thing's gonna be, based on her calculations,
$450,000 on
think
Cape
about
Cod. Come on.
Well, what I was going to say was, then either spend a couple $100,000 putting boulders in front of it, if they'll allow you to preserve your shoreline.
What if they'd let you even?
Well, if they don't, then you basically, you have a trouble situation.
There's a problem.
Why would you not
put it on stilts? Eventually, those stilts will come out. But I don't know. I think I'll tell you one thing that video does for me is that looks like, hey, there's an agent that kind of is explaining it. I think that agent did a good job of doing it.
Yeah.
Kind of in a fun and a good way of doing it.
Well, it's intriguing, right? You and I are both like, our wheels are spinning now thinking, huh? And that was good content for sure.
Yeah. No. I think Nick's trying to get us to do all this stuff. That's why he says this.
Good
That's
luck,
why he
Nick.
sends these things to us.
Yeah.
All right, we got our last little segment here. Minnesota luxury real estate will be brought to you by Chris Rooney Home Experts.
Oh boy.
I was just 1 year old when my family started in real estate, where both my parents were agents. They also dabbled in investing in real estate, rentals, flips, and construction. After college, I went right into getting my license in July of 1990. As a 23-year-old agent in an industry that looks nothing like today, I had to know more for my clients to choose me. There wasn't Zillow or social media to tell them how good I was. I had to win them over with knowledge. With knowledge comes confidence, and with confidence comes results.
Can't believe on your commercial. I want to read. It has on there a line that says, with 29% down cash, contract for deed optional. And it's right in the middle of one of the captions. And every time I'm about ready, and then I go, remember to read it. It's too late. And
that's one of the listings.
Yep.
Those are fun. I still have all that stuff. My mom had saved it and gave it to me, so it's pretty neat. Oh, Credit River, another Credit River one. Remember the one we went over that was $4 million that had the yoga studio and all that?
Sure.
This baby is right down the street.
Wow.
Not too far away. I think this one sold. I showed this one 3 times before it sold. Now, it didn't look like this. The whole oasis, all that landscaping is all brand new. But I think they paid somewhere in the $800,000 range for this house. Damn. And now it's $3.2 million. So there's obviously a pond back there with the fountain, which I love. But then they put that pool. They have a sport court back there. Really cool fire pit area. I mean, they really did kind of an estate. They created kind of an estate type property. I'm just not so sure that the house fits that price point, but the grounds have improved tremendously. And I think what these guys are trying to do is to find that person that has that extra money that emotionally is going to get like into, wow, look at this thing. I mean, it's like, and it's set up for you. I mean, it's really set up, but maybe the inside at over 3 million
It still shows for sale, or
might
it's
be
not
pretty
for sale?
tough. It's for sale. It's still for sale. I think it's been on the market like 60 days. And no one at first came on. Was it 50 days? Okay. Yeah. So it's been a couple of months. Not unusual in that price point. 6,500 square feet, 5-bedroom, 4-bath.
Look at the photos.
Yeah, but bring some of the photos up and you'll see. I mean, it was built in, I think, 2006. And you can get some of that feel. But again, they're trying to create the lifestyle.
There
Look
you
at that.
go.
I mean,
That's
that's
pretty
off
sweet.
the back. That's all brand new, but now
It looks like Nordic, like Viking crap. It shouldn't say crap. Those beams in there.
yeah, but
I don't like that.
and the colors were off, and I think they really did a good job with making these colors lighter to be able to have that woodwork stand out a little. But yeah, you might have something.
And they probably paid a fortune for those beams too. That's a sad thing.
Yeah, oh yeah, and that style. Yeah, because I think those were in there.
Okay.
So originally, but those are something you could take out that they're not structural.
Right.
So you kind of play with that, but yeah, you can kind of feel the 2006. I think you start getting into bathrooms. Usually bathrooms is where you do it because there's so much tile, it's really hard to take over. But that kitchen, same thing. I mean, we don't get a lot of wood cabinets or just wood. There's usually a combination of stuff on there where the island might be a different color.
What about that rug in that great room? I think I would have pulled that blue rug out of there. That's what I think is making me think it's Nordic.
Okay, yeah, and like a raised countertop, that just starts screaming, 2000 mid 2006 to 10 area where you had that, and then it's kind of like the backsplash too. I think if I would have done this, I would have brought that island on one level. I would have painted a different color, and I would have had a big different backsplash. I don't know if I would have done the countertops or not, but I think that could have really helped open and just kind of really shoot this thing out at you.
Yeah.
Now it looks just kind of like an L kitchen for a $3.2 million house, unless there's some sort of big pantry or something. You see what I mean with the tiles? I mean, don't get me wrong. It's nice. It's really nice, but I just think everything's relative to what price you're at. So. We just need a little white,
I got to be honest with you. A lot of this photography too is all big furniture close-ups, and I'm not a fan of that.
You want to see the house.
I want to see I feel like I still can't see the house. I feel like I'm trying to look up underneath the sign to see what the house looks like. So give me some photos.
I think they really concentrated on trying to bring that outside in because that outside.
You think?
It's a killer.
That's all they keep showing. Yeah. We get it. You have a nice outside.
But again, here's the tiles again, and again, very nice. But is it over 3 million because of that? And 3 million, to get 3 million on something that's not on a lake in this area, that's a hard price to get. I just sold one for 2.5 million that had the same kind of oasis kind of feel. Our guys kind of redoing some of it, but it was 2.5 million. It was more house than this, and the amenities were probably even better. So. But it's a rambler, so you get your main floor living, which is a really good thing. Yeah, so now they incorporated the white in there. See how that gives it? I think they should have done some of that upstairs, maybe in some different rooms and stuff like that. When you get, it just brightens it up and opens it up. See, they left the mantle there, the bar. Then everything else is white. Just kind of what more 2023 is.
Oof.
But again, they paid $8 something for it. Now it's 3.2 million. So
I don't know. I gotta be honest, I don't think that's gonna be the sale price at all.
no, it won't be. It most likely it won't be. But yeah, see where, what was it? 860. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, Chris? 2.5 at the highest?
Probably.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it's a beautiful property, don't get me wrong, but
I think it's got a 2 in it for sure.
But here's what I'd say to you. So let's say the 10 acres with the landscaping, the pool and everything is worth $1.5 million. What's the house worth? Another 700,000-800,000 at the most?
Yeah, I mean
replacement
it all melts together at that point, because sometimes that outside stuff's maybe even overkill. Like you don't need all that entertainment stuff.
Well,
I can't remember.
I think
there was an extra. I think they put an extra outbuilding in there too, which is helpful. It's a good thing to be able to have.
Yeah, that doesn't quantify 3.2 million. That's a crap load of money. 3.2 million. Hell, even at $1.5 million, it would be a lot of money. I mean, you look at 1.9, 1.8, and to go 3.2, I'm missing something. Maybe it has a jet plane.
But here's the thing too, is that sometimes you're looking at the time of the market when it hits, what you're competing against. There's another one again right down the street that's $4 million, an estate type opportunity as well, where hey, this one's $800,000 less. Maybe we grab that, or you see the value, you think the value's there, and or it's a marketing piece to, hey, let's put it on this year high, and then let people see next year when we go down at 2.5 that they're getting an ungodly deal. And so some people will do that as well.
Expensive strategy, but yeah,
just depends. I think that agent, he knows what he's doing.
Well, no, I know they're probably doing the best they can with what they have. I mean, like we all do, right? I mean, this is where I would assume that you have an overpowering seller that's telling you what to do a little bit, as well as, I don't know, maybe.
I don't know, Andy. I think there might be a.
You're wrong. I mean, I'm just trying to help.
Marketing piece. Yeah, there might be a marketing.
I think the biggest mistake we make as sellers is, but I have the nicest countertops in the neighborhood, and I have the best view of the pond, and I have and reality is that it's a property with amenities. And at the end of the day, there's a finite amount of dollars that people will pay for the things you put in there. So there are diminished returns. You can put a $500,000 pool in there and not get a nickel for it. And then in other cases, you might get 100% of it back. You really have to be careful.
I think what's really interesting, I think what people need to kind of know and find out is that here's two of us.
Wait, can I see a pizza oven?
Two of us, yeah. It's
We're back to 3.
But the thing is, Andy, I think what people need to know is that these are the kind of things that buyers are sitting out there saying as well, and thinking about it. And so it might be, hey, I just need to get one. That's all I got to be able to get. I mean, here's the thing: I got kids. I'm moving in. I'm transferring in. It's a great spot. I mean, it's a great relocation spot. I got this fantastic. What is that?
Chicken coop.
Oh, there's a little outbuilding. You think that's a chicken coop?
Well, why wouldn't they have those buildings match?
There's a garden.
I would have them match the roof lines on them, but
no. It's 9 acres, so I'm assuming they have some extra things like this.
Yeah, well, it's got all that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it is, and it's a good location. You got your own pond. I mean, I think they're just trying to appeal to the right person, but. I don't disagree with that. The marketing, though, I think the marketing actually.
Well, no, you can see the photography like in the basement, where all of a sudden the outside photos are nicer than the inside is. That there's a lot of money spent on that development of those photos to do that. Or like they show the furniture like up close again. You can see out the window. That's all like hours and hours and hours and hours of work by editing team.
Yeah.
Hey, another good episode. Hey, everyone, click that link, okay? Our websites are on there. Give us a like on the social medias, write a review, subscribe to our YouTube, and send any questions you have for next week. All right, guys.
See ya.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Real Estate Radio Hour. Don't forget to visit our website, realestateradiohour.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast listening app. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or sharing us with a friend. Until next time, stay awesome, Twin Cities.